So greetings from Pennsylvania once again. It's time to film another episode of Following the Union Canal. Just got done filming the previous episode when we drove through Lebanon. We ended here at the Union Canal Tunnel Park. You can see the canal back behind me there. So I thought since we're here at the park, might as well go ahead and film the next episode since we're already here. So that's what we're gonna do. Might be one of my favorite sections to film. I've been here at this park before. I filmed the tunnel before, but now we got to include it in the series. So we are on the northwest side of Lebanon City. This is Union Canal Drive and this is 25th Street. And they do have a sign right here for the Union Canal Tunnel Park. There are places to park back here. And right up here is the canal. Of course, we just got done driving through Lebanon in the previous episode and there was nothing to see of the canal. But then all of a sudden here, boom. Here it is in all its glory. And as the name implies, the main feature of this park is the tunnel. This is the only tunnel along the route of the Union Canal here in Pennsylvania. And I believe, ooh, there's fish in here. And it is the oldest currently existing transportation tunnel in the country as well. So we'll talk more about that later once we get up to it. But yeah, it's interesting how there's nothing left of the canal in town, and all of a sudden here it is. Yeah, so boom, right there it starts up. Of course, it would have continued on through that way. And a couple of weeks ago, me and John took a ride on that canal boat. We got a ride through the tunnel. So I'll show that to you later in this video. Now here's our towpath trail, and here's the canal. So it's been a while since we've actually seen like a significant section of the canal like this. One also filled with water. Like I said, they take the canal boat through it, so you can it's actually still navigable here, which is pretty awesome. And there's more fish. I should mention too, there's quite a decent sized park here. It's a beautiful place just to come and hike and walk as well. So here's a bit of information about the tunnel. We'll look at more signs later. Designated National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. Dug through the ridge dividing the waters of the Quittapahilla Creek and the Clark's Run. The tunnel was originally 720 feet long. Drilling was done by hand and blasting with gunpowder. Mentions some of the ridge there. Work began May of 1825, was completed in 1827. Total cost was $30,000, because that was a lot of money back then. The tunnel's length was reduced to 600 feet during the canal enlargement of 1858. The first boat to pass through the tunnel was the Alpha of Topahakan on June 12th of 1827. And then here we are back on the towpath trail. This gives you perhaps one of the best perspectives of what the canal would have looked like back in the day. You got the towpath trail, the mules, pulling the canal boat through the canal here. It's pretty wide here at this point too. So this is pretty awesome that this is preserved. Probably just would have been a lot less trees. I doubt any of these trees over here and the ones over in the far bank would have been around. And none of these weeds would have been here either. I doubt it would have looked as serene and peaceful as it does now. Back then it probably had a much more industrial feel to it. A lot more dirt and who knows, just treeless, probably. That's what its purpose was. Industrial purposes, not for nature and park-like things as it is today. And of course we have some dark clouds coming. I wasn't planning on filming here today. I was just going to drive through Lebanon because it was supposed to rain today, but when I got here it wasn't raining, so hopefully I don't regret that. But as I mentioned earlier, I was here several weeks ago with my friend John, the hometown historian, we got one of the canal boat rides through the tunnel. They do give a guided tour through the tunnel. You're not allowed to bring your own kayak here and go through the tunnel, which would be cool if you could. I would have done it that way. But later in this video, I'll share some of those clips with you of going through the tunnel, which was pretty awesome actually. And we are soon coming up on the tunnel. The canal kind of goes up here and it's going to go right into the tunnel. Back that way is the way we came. Like it's a beautiful place to walk here. Oh, there's a turtle in there. If you can catch a glimpse of him. There's plenty of wildlife here too. So this section here is extra wide because in order to get to the tunnel, they'd have to kind of like go up, turn themselves about, and then go into the tunnel. So it's extra wide here for that purpose. And we'll catch our first glimpse of it here. You can see the stonework up there. There she is. The Union Canal Tunnel. Oh, and there's also a squirrel. Guardian of the canal. Yep, there's the tunnel. And there we can see the other end. This deck is a bit slippy. So yeah, there you go, the Union Canal Tunnel. Zoom in on it a little bit for you there. Alright, looks like they have a little bit more information over here about the tunnel. Oh, you can see what it looked like. This is, I don't remember this. This is a new sign. There you go. That's what it looks like inside. Of course, you'll see some video of that too. Tunnel construction, 1825, opened 1827. Yeah, talks about how in 1850s it was expanded to 18. Oh, originally it was 15 feet high, expanded to 18 feet high. Yeah, there's a picture of it back in the day. Ceased operations in 1885 due to high maintenance costs. Some other pictures. Oh yeah, there it is. There's a mule pulling one of the canal boats. Right there's the mule. There's the rope pulling the canal. Oh, this is. Well, we were just there. It's between 7th and 8th Streets along Canal Street in Lebanon. We were just there in a previous video. Cool. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is share a clip with you of our canal boat ride. Me and John, along with a bunch of other people that are on the boat with us, our ride through the tunnel going in this way. And it was a guided tour, so you're going to hear a lady talking throughout most of that clip, talking about different things about the canal and the tunnel and things like that. So I'll go ahead and share that video with you now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back that way, hop in the Jeep and head to the north side of the park. You can actually walk to it from here, but it's a little easier just to drive to the north side of the park. And once you're done watching that clip of us going through, I'll meet you on the other side.
Along with on the logs, they probably will be painted turtles sunning themselves. The canal itself right now is the home to lots of different kinds of fish and also large snapper turtles too. Intact tunnel in the United States. It's not the first one. Actually, the first one was built in about 1821 in about 3 miles east of Origsburg in Auburn area. And that was we enter from the south portal. It's the hardest rock, and we're moving north under softer rock, and we'll exit on the north portal. And as we go in, first off, the facade in the front here has been redone by the CCC in the 1930s. And the water inside the tunnel is deeper than out here. They dug it deeper than the regular canal. So as we enter, you could see there's some plant life on the side that just grew out of opportunists. When we enter, as I said, it's the hardest portion, the rock. And the greens and browns that we'll see that will be staining the side of the tunnel will be copper and iron oxides. We'll see hard calcite and calcite crystals, and they're formed from precipitation of calcium-rich water inside the tunnel. And there are stalactites on the ceiling, and they are only about an inch and a half or 2 inches in height, but they're over 150, 100 years old. So I will speak quieter now because it sounds very loud. Here we go. Oh my. There we go. And we have running lights so you can see alongside the wall. And you can see that we usually have lots of drips in here. I hear some, but we haven't had rain for quite a while. And so we've been through here in the tunnel after a very drenching rain, maybe about a week prior, and it was almost like a Hershey Park ride. The water was just cascading down in drips, very predominantly. We are under about 80 feet of solid rock. And I'm told it takes about 2 weeks for the water to percolate down from the surface. So of course the orange is iron and the copper is sort of green. Now if you notice these unusual marks on the side, I will talk about them on the way back. This tunnel was originally only about 15 feet tall when they first built it. And so if we were a canal boat back in the day, of course a mule would be pulling us through the canal, and the mule would not get on board with us as we proceed through the canal. And there's our resident rat right there. It's actually a plastic rat from a past event. That's the other man-made item here in this tunnel. In about 1852 or so, they enlarged the tunnel. I'll talk about that a little bit later, and heightened it to about 15 feet. Now sometimes canal boats would be loaded with timber, and the timber would be loaded on the canal boats in such a way that it would be sort of arced up in the center, and the captain would actually lay back on top of the timber and walk his way across or through the tunnel. And the young, being young, and they would let go, fall down, and they drown right away. So habitually, bats do not roost over water. They may come in and go for insects and things like that, but that's it. Now as we exit, we are on the north side, and this is the softest rock. Here on the port side is shale, and that has
And then here we are at the north end of the tunnel. We just got done watching that clip, and we just came out that section right there. I kind of like this side better. It just feels more secluded back here. I don't know, has a feel. But you can see this was the hill they were digging through. You can see how it goes up on either side. And that section there, they decided just to dig a tunnel through it. The oldest existing transportation tunnel in the world. There was an older canal tunnel, I think they even mentioned it on the tour, up in Auburn on the Schuylkill Canal, I think, which opened up earlier, but that tunnel was later what they call daylighted. What that means is that they, instead of leaving it as a tunnel, they just took out the rock above it and made it not a tunnel anymore, I guess you could say. And I visited that spot years ago. There's a section of the canal still there, the Schuylkill Canal, that is. But yeah, there we go, the north end of the tunnel. So a little bit later in this video, we're actually going to walk up this length of the towpath trail first, but a little bit later I'll show the footage of us going back through the tunnel. Whoops, going back through this way. But now let's go for a walk along the north side of the canal here. of the tunnel. Yeah, just a beautiful section back through here. You know, it's the story of them restoring this is pretty awesome too. I won't go into full detail, but you know, when they purchased this property, this tunnel was kind of a wreck. They had to clean a lot of the openings on either side were filled with trash and rubble and stuff. They had to clear everything out. It's just, they did a lot of work to make it what it is today. Because when it was abandoned, no one really cared. You know, it's just kind of the way it is sometimes. So it's almost a miracle in some ways that it's still here. And just like the section we did through Lebanon, there are no canal locks through this section. We're still at summit level, and that tunnel in some ways represents the summit of the summit level. But one problem they did have up here, since we're not following a creek anymore, like we did earlier in the videos, you know, following Topahkan Creek. The Topahkan Creek is what supplied water to the canal. Well, up here we're not following a creek anymore, so it's difficult to keep these levels up here filled with water. They did have a number of dams up this area. Stover's Dam is one of them. Areas where they would dam up the water from springs and use that water to fill up the canal here. They also had they also pumped water up from another location. One place we're going to be getting to soon is called Union Waterworks. It's where the canal meets up with the Satara Creek. And at Union Waterworks, they had a huge system there where they would pump water up to this section here to help keep this area filled with water. They had a terrible time with it leaking here. There's a lot of limestone. It's part of the bedrock. And limestone is a permeable rock. Water will leak through it, and this limestone is pretty awful. So they had a lot of trouble with leakage. Even a lot of the water they pumped up was lost because of that leakage. So this was a difficult area. Yeah, those dark clouds are still here. It is sprinkling just a little bit, but not enough to keep me from filming. I do have my umbrella with me this time. And up here is one of the, I mentioned those dams where they would, you know, dam up water to bring it down to the canal. Right there is one of the little culverts that would bring water. I forget which dam that is. But this would help to bring water to fill up the canal. Looks like up here is the end. Because just past here is where the canal starts descending again. Because we spent this whole series so far on the ascent from the Schuylkill River, you know, following the Topahkan Creek and ascending up to this level, the summit level here in Lebanon. We did 54 locks to get here. Past this point up here, we're going to start descending then towards the Satara Creek, and there's like, I think 30 some locks on this end. And what might get confusing to some people, but this is the way it works. You know, we did locks 54 to 1 already. But that was lock 54 east to 1 east. Now we're at summit level, now we're going to start heading west to Satara Creek. The numbers are going to start over again. Just up here is lock 1 again, but it's lock 1 west. So we're going to do locks 1 to, oh, I forget, 30 something on this end. So that's the way it's going to work again. So there's numbers, we're going to look for lock 1, 2, so on and so on again. This time on the west end. I think lock 1 is just past this way. And I do have permission for lock 1. I sent a bunch of letters out again. I got a few permissions for the section coming up. But as always, I didn't get as many as I would like. But we're not going to do that today though. We'll save that for another day. Just kind of looking back. Just another nice section here. Looks like there's a trail on the other side there too, which you can use. I think there's a bridge up here. I'm not sure if we can see lock 1 from here or not. I think this is called Minnick Lane. It goes to a farm down here. I think this is the one guy I talked to on the phone. I did get permission from this fella. But like I said, I'm not looking for lock 1 today. But if we could see it from this bridge, you know, that's great. Yeah, there's a little bridge here. Actually, it's pretty overgrown right here. Actually, I see stonework. Oh, that's a culvert right there. What is that? You see there's some stonework down in there. Don't believe that's lock 1 though. Just take a look over here. Oh, that's for the road that goes across. It's a little culvert for the road. The canal continues on that way. So out that way is the remains of lock 1 somewhere. But we'll save that for another day. Alright, it's calling to me though. Oh yeah, you can see the rain. Now the rain is starting to fall a little bit more. You can see it sprinkling on top of the canal waters there. Our tunnel was all the way up that way. So I'm not going to walk all the way back to the north entrance, but I'm going to share with you the video clip of us going back through the canal once again. I'll share that with you now.
They're building this, and in order to build it, they needed people. Now, they didn't have pneumatics, they didn't have steam engines at the time. They had nothing but picks and shovels and wheelbarrows and human backs. Hit it again, turn it. So would you rather be the one holding the star drill or the one with the sledgehammer? I have no idea which one I would want to be. The one holding, of course, it's cold, it's vibrating. Do you ever hold something metal and it vibrates and it hurts? It hurts badly. And when the stone would be loosened, it would fly out. They didn't have goggles, they didn't have OSHA, so these people had to deal with these circumstances using the star drill and the sledgehammer. Once they had a hole fairly deep, they had to pack it with black powder. Dynamite wasn't invented yet. They did about 5 feet a week. It took about 2 years in order for them to meet each other. And they were, my reading tells me, about 6 inches out of whack. Now that, this was 1825. The engineers didn't have formal schooling. It was quite an engineering feat to be able to keep 2 independent teams on track, going in the right direction and meeting in the center. So if you can imagine the noise of all this, there was no water, of course, here in the tunnel at the time, very tightly with the black powder, putting a fuse into it. They didn't have safety fuses because they weren't invented yet. They weren't invented till about 1831 by a gentleman over in England, in the coal regions over there. So what they had to do to light their black powder was to have some kind of burning ember or a burning stick and light the fuse. And the fuse most likely was a piece of wool that was impregnated with sulfur. So ultimately, in the building of this tunnel, 4 Irishmen lost their lives due to the explosion. Actually, I think it was a matter of rock coming down once they were within the tunnel after the explosion. 4 people lost their lives to make this. So that's what makes this such an important engineering feat. It's not just the engineering part of it, it's a matter of the time frame when it occurred and that it was able to be built, and quite frankly, only 4 people. I hate to say 4 people, but it's amazing that few passed away. This is 1825, early American history, and it was throwback to the colonial thinking that when we sweated at the time, we lose heat. And so the idea of whiskey, you drank warm water or warm liquid in order to put heat back in your belly. So the idea of the whiskey, if you ever drank whiskey, was really warm. And so then it would enable the workers to continue working warm.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that second clip of us going back through the tunnel again. I forget what all the ladies said as we were going through the tunnel. I know she was talking the whole time. The whole canal ride itself is about 45 minutes. It starts way back where I showed you the boat is. So it's about a 45-minute ride altogether. Because they give you a lot more information than she did just going through the tunnels. But it is well worth doing it. I don't know, they do them on Sundays, the first 3 Sundays through the summer into September and October, I believe. So this video might not be uploaded till October, so I'm not sure how that'll work out. There's always a delay to these videos. But if this video is uploaded even into October and they're still offering the canal boat rides, go ahead and take one. I know they had them Some Sundays they were canceled this summer because we kind of had a drought this summer, and the waters need to be a certain heights for the canal boats to run. So, but it's well worth it. It was fun. All right, but I think that'll be it then for this video. Even if you don't do the canal boat ride, it's a great park to come and visit here in Northwest Lebanon. A little gem, a little treasure here in Lebanon. As always, thanks for coming along, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.